He huffed and he puffed and was soon at the top. He could see Spencer in the distance and chased him at once. Edward raced down the hill. Spencer stopped at Wellsworth Station. The Duke and Duchess wanted to buy some tea and cakes from the refreshment lady. Edward teetered into view. "Hurry, old boy," laughed Spencer. "Can't have you finishing too far behind me." Edward wished he could have a rest too, but the station master and the porters had heard about the race. "Hooray for Edward!" they cheered. Edward picked up steam and proudly puffed past Spencer. But then the Duke and Duchess finished their tea, and Spencer was off in a flash. He roared past Edward. Fastest and best, he boasted. Edward was nearly out of puff. The furniture felt heavier than ever. Up ahead, Spencer had to stop. The Duke wanted to take some photographs of the countryside. The Duke set up his camera. Spencer closed his eyes. "Nothing to worry about," he said lazily. Gordon was returning to Brendam Docks. He passed Spencer and knew Edward must be losing the race. "Edward is a waste of steam," he sniffed. But when Gordon passed Edward and saw how hard he was trying, he felt bad about what he had said. "Well done, Edward," he called. "You are a credit to the railway." Edward was so happy his boiler tingled. He found puff he never knew he had. The Duke and Duchess had finished taking photographs and were back on board. "Time to go," said Spencer's driver and rang the bell. But nothing happened. Spencer was dreaming of victory. He didn't hear the bell. And he didn't hear Edward puffing past him. Spencer's driver rang the bell again. When Spencer finally opened his eyes, he could see Edward heading towards the summer house. Nearly there, he gasped. Spencer took off as fast as he could. But as he reached the siding, his driver ordered him to slow down. "These are old tracks and you are a very heavy engine," he said. "You must go slowly." Spencer had no choice. He had to slow down. And he trundled slowly down the siding. With every click and every clack, he knew he had lost the race. Edward puffed toward the summer house. "I've won," he gasped. "I did it!" Edward felt like a really useful engine. "Hooray! I've won!" he cheered loudly. Edward felt like the pride of the Sodor Railway, and he was right. All Sir Topham Hatt's engines liked to look clean, bright, and shiny. They loved being washed down and having their brass polished until it gleams. James was in the workshop being repainted. He was beside himself with joy. James thought being repainted meant he was special. The workmen painted and polished for hour upon hour. Then, with new paint shining, brass twinkling, and blacking black, James returned to Tidmouth sheds. "Look, aren't I a beautiful red?" he asked the others. "No wonder Sir Topham Hatt thinks I'm special." But Percy was worried. He wasn't being repainted, and he wasn't red. "Does this mean Sir Topham Hatt doesn't think I'm special?" he asked. "Looking splendid is not the same as being really useful," said Thomas firmly. But best of all is being really useful and looking splendid, like me, said James cheerfully. Before Thomas could say anything else, James closed his eyes and fell happily asleep. The next morning, all the engines were very busy. Percy was working at the coal plant. Thomas and Emily were taking passengers up and down the branch lines. Gordon was pulling the express. Sir Topham Hatt came to see James. He told him to join Percy at the coal plant at once. The coal cars must reach Brendam docks before the boat sails, so no dilly-dallying, he said. Yes, sir, said James, and he set off at once. But James didn't go straight to the coal plant. He decided to go by the canal instead. Then he could see himself in the water for yard after yard after yard. Magnificent, he puffed. James had forgotten what Sir Topham Hatt had said. At the coal yard, Percy was working as hard as he could, but he was falling behind. The line of coal cars was getting longer and longer, and the yard manager was getting crosser and crosser. Where could James be?